Hi, this is Anil and welcome to your second video tutorial on C++ programming. So in this tutorial we're gonna see some basic terms and the softwares used in the development of C++, the compilers, archivers, linkers, toolsets, IDEs, and also we're gonna see how C++ works, or what is the process to get an executable or an exe file from an C++ source file. Okay, let's begin. So first we're gonna see what is a toolset. So the computer can only understand the machine language code, which is the combination of zeros and ones. All of you know that computer can only execute the code written in zeros and ones. The three basic tools used to build C++ applications are the compilers, the linkers, and the archivers. So we're gonna use these three tools and we're gonna convert our C++ source file to an executable one which we can execute. A collection of these programs and possibly other tools is called toolset. Or we can say that the combination of the compilers, the linkers, and archivers together called as toolsets. So now we're going to see the compilers, archivers, and the linkers in detail. So the compiler takes C++ source file as an input and it produces the object files which contains a mixture of machine executable code, the zeros and ones, the code in zeros and ones, and also some symbolic references to the functions and data. So in our program we're going to use some functions and we're going to refer the library functions which are provided by the C++, and also we're going to refer some data in some other files. So the object file created by this compiler is going to contain the code of our program in zeros and ones, and also some references to these functions and data. Then the archiver, which takes a collection of object files which is generated by the compiler as an input, and it produces a static library or an archive which is simply a collection of object files grouped for convenient use. And next, the linker. The linker takes a collection of object files and libraries and it resolves their symbolic references to produce either an executable or a dynamic library. So once we have these object files, we pass that object file to the linker. The linker is going to take the group of object files that we have passed and it's going to link them, whatever the symbolic references to the functions or the data we have made, all that references will be resolved and an executable file or a dynamic library file, DLL file will be generated. So now we're going to see what is an executable and a dynamic library. An executable or application is simply any program that can be executed by the operating system. For example, we have the notepad and the worldpad and any other applications which we execute in our computer. The operating system can easily execute. A dynamic library is also called a shared library, is like an executable except that can't be run on its own. An application file can make use of these dynamic library files. On Windows operating system, these dynamic library files are also called DLL files or dynamic link libraries. Okay, now we know about the compilers, the linkers, the archivers, the toolsets, how C++ works, or what is the procedure to get an application or executable from the C++ source file. So first we have the C++ source code, and then we're gonna compile that source code using the compiler, and this process is called compilation, and we will get machine code version. This machine code version is gonna contain some symbolic references to some other functions, data, or some reference to the library functions provided by the C++. So next, what we're gonna do is we're gonna link this object file or the machine code version with the C++ library using the linker, and the process is called linking. Here that references are resolved and we'll get complete machine executable program. So this complete machine executable program is an application which can be executed by the operating system. Okay, now we know how C++ works, or the procedure to get the application or the executable from a C++ source file. What are the available tool sets and command line tools that we can use to do that? So the command line tools for various tool sets are, if you're gonna select GCC toolset, then you'll get G++ compiler, G++ linker, and also AR or ranlib archiver. Similarly, for a Visual C++ toolset, we have their specific compiler, linker, and archivers. And similarly for Intel, for Windows, Linux, MetroWorks, Cameo, and all these different toolsets contain different compilers, linkers, and archivers. Okay, now what is an IDE and why to use an IDE? Okay, the compiler, linker, and archiver are command line tools. We used to pass the input files, name of the input file and output file, together with some necessary configuration information to the compilers, linkers, and archivers as text in the command prompt, and we will get the specific output from that specific programs. So invoking these tools by hand is tedious again and again. For example, when you develop a program, you want to check that program again and again, to make sure that that program is working properly, while developing. So at that time, invoking these tools by command prompt, is tedious. You can't write all these things again and again. It's time consuming. So to solve that, we're going to use the IDEs. An IDE provides a graphical interface for organizing a collection of source files and describing the binary files that should be narrated from them. So we just need to click some buttons in the IDE, the graphical user interface, and then the specific compilers, linkers, archivers, and all those things are called automatically, and we'll get the application. Okay, some available IDEs for C++ are the Visual C++, the Code Warrior, C++ Builder, Do C++, Code Block, and many other are available. So we're gonna use Code Block IDE in our upcoming videos, because Code Block is available for all the platforms, Windows, Mac, Linux, and also it's very simple to set up. Okay, this is it, guys. This is about some information on the compilers, linkers, archivers, and the toolsets, IDEs, and also how a C++ program works. So thank you for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like my Facebook page at facebook.com/learninglad, and I'll see you in the next tutorial.